Welcome to week 4 of the Judgeless movement. This week, it kind of all ties together, but our focus and our overriding theme this week is judge humanity less. The reason why it all comes together this week, why you start to really fully understand why each previous video was important and why you start to really understand the interconnection and kind of the feedback that occurs between you and everyone else, that occurs between each individual one of us and the whole. So far you've learnt that you can't give what you don't have, that judgment is heavy, it weighs you down, it keeps you stuck. So we start with ourselves. We free ourselves, really. We free ourselves to be human, to have fears and doubts and a whole range of emotions. We free ourselves so that when these emotions come, we can feel them, we can learn from them, we can move through them, we can incorporate the understandings and the learnings that they bring, and we can expand from them. We can only do that by not attaching judgment, because when things like that come into our lives, or when we feel fear, or we feel anger, or we feel envy, it's there to teach us. It's there to be felt, to be expressed. It comes with an awareness and an understanding kind of built in, and a built-in opportunity is always there for us in each and every emotion and sort of experience that comes our way. But only if we don't attach judgment can we get to that part of it, because the minute we attach judgment and start thinking, I shouldn't be feeling this, I shouldn't be like this, or the judgment of I'll never be able to get out of this, it's kind of like tying yourself to it. It's kind of like rocks around your ankles, and you now tying rocks around your feet, and now you can't move out of that. So we've learnt the vital importance that we must release the judgment of the experience that we're having, of the feelings that we're having, of the being human aspect of each one of us. Embracing ego as being a teaching tool, and recognizing that in our gentleness with ourselves, our softness and kindness with ourselves, we create an environment in which we can thrive. We build ourselves up by understanding that everybody feels like this. We start to extend our connection to outside of ourselves. We bring our softness, our kindness to our loved ones, to others. We start to understand that we live in a greater environment, that there is an energetic pot. Each and every video I've been speaking to you about this energetic pot and being conscious of what we put into that pot. So firstly, we get conscious of what we allow to go on inside our own environment, of what we allow in our own land, whether we are ruling it harshly or whether we are ruling it with love. Then we extended that out to understand that there is an energetic connection, just like a physical connection, between us and our loved ones. And we take responsibility of our part of what we put into that pot, that connection between us and our loved ones. Last week we extended it out to the other. So the other being anybody that ego can start to say, they're not like you, they're different, they're superior, they're inferior, whatever ego has chosen to make us really focus on the differences. We extend out our compassion and our kindness and our understanding by looking for the similarities amongst us all. So now we're getting conscious. The birds are adding their wisdom. So now we're getting conscious and we're taking responsibility for what we put into the wider pot. Now, as humanity, as kind of thinking of humanity as an organism. We are each responsible for what we put into the pot, but there are billions of us, billions of people putting stuff into the pot. That collective pot at this point in time is filled with judgment and fear, and it's harsh, and it's filled with hatred and misunderstandings. So we take responsibility for what we put in it, but understand that it's a two-way part. You add to the pot, but you also receive from the pot. And this is how, when people say if you want to change the world, change yourself, this is what they mean. There is a wider aspect to this pot. Everybody's putting stuff into it. How do you help control what other people are putting into it? Here's how. You're taking responsibility for what you add in. Where we step it up this week is we take responsibility for what we receive out. We take the judgment away from what we receive out. Pretty much everybody that's alive on the planet right now knows that it's a time of great fear. So what is missing? Love. So what can you bring? Love. Sounds very simplistic. It's not. It'll be your life's work. It's definitely not simplistic. So let's really start to focus on what do I get with what I get out of the pot. Here's another thing that I want you to start putting into your understanding. Each one of us has the capacity to be a receiver from that collective pot of all sorts of different things. Depending on where we're at, depending on what we have kind of like landing zones for, what we have matching elements in us. This is all law of attraction. Depending on, am I a great receiver right now for fear? If I myself am internally a harsh place, filled with fear, filled with judgment, filled with self-hatred, I am a fabulous 100% brilliant match for receiving those exact same things from the collective pot. They will be thrown at me. I will be receiving them. I will be seeing them everywhere I look. If I'm somebody who is feeling quite angry right now, if I'm a good receiver for anger, people will show me anger. People will bring me their anger, and the collective anger I'll be affected by that, if you know what I mean. I will be affected by the thing that I have a place to land in me. Start to think of the collective pot as an energetic swirl of all of the possibilities and the emotions that we feel. They flow through our head. Everybody's thoughts, all the madness and all the thoughts and all the crazy is flowing through each one of our heads. The emotions are flowing through each one of our bodies, and they will just stop and land where they have a place to live. If you feed them, if you nourish them, if you invite them in, they will come and stay. So what you receive from the collective pot might just be flowing through somebody. You might be having a meeting with a friend and you realize, wow, they're so fearful. Or somebody starts to have an argument with you. This is where it can seem personal. Let the judgment go by understanding that right now we're all kind of on the receiving end of anger, frustration, and fear. It's kind of, at a really high level. So people can be bringing that to you, and not make them responsible for what they bring to you. And again, not to say, just, put up with anything, but bring the understanding of this might not even be them. This is from the collective pot of anger right now. And if there's a match in them, that anger can be directed at you. So taking responsibility for what's directed at you, be that through the media because you belong to a certain group that the media right now is deciding, throwing a lot of misunderstanding your way, a lot of hatred your way, neighbours, friends, whoever, the larger community. This is what you can do with what comes your way. By being conscious that you actually can do something with it. So there are 3 ways that you can respond for what you now receive from the pot. You can stay unconscious and you can receive it. Imagine that this is like a giant game of pass the parcel. Fear, let's say anger is in the collective pot. It's swirling around, it's looking for a place to land, it's looking for a place where it's a match. It finds a match in somebody near you. That person's anger gets activated by the collective swirl of anger, and now they're angry. So let's say it's like a giant game of pass the parcel. They've received the parcel of anger. They turn, you're sitting next to them, they don't want it, they give it to you. So you've now received it, right? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to just pass it on like in Pass the Parcel, kind of very, subconsciously, very just get it away from me. I don't want it, get it away from me. Or you add your own anger to it, which is kind of like even worse. So now you're adding to that collective pot. This is why it's so important that you be conscious, what am I adding to the pot? And it's not just about being conscious of what am I adding to the pot when it doesn't affect me, when it's the news and I can turn it off. Yes, turn the news off. Turn any commercial news off and do yourself a favour, do me a favour, do everyone on the planet a favour. Don't watch commercial TV news. That's very different to educating yourself and good sources of journalism. But it's more than that. It's more than just turning the TV off when it doesn't affect you. It's having someone in your house and choosing, what am I going to do with what I add to the pot? Because your reaction to that person is also adding to the pot. So somebody hands you anger. You can either get really angry, put even more anger on top of it and throw it right back, and therefore increasing the anger that's in the collective pot. Or you could hold on to it, seethe for a little while, hand it to someone else, passing that gift of anger right along. Or you can do one of 2 things that is conscious. Now, the first thing to do when you're conscious and you are consciously choosing what you do with what comes your way from the collective pot, start to think of the people that are bringing this your way are they're just a vessel that's bringing the collective energy. They're just a vessel that's just showing collective energy. So say someone brings anger your way and you've decided you want to deal with it consciously. You can neutralize it. You can neutralize it by thinking, I'm not going to take this personally. This is not mine. You therefore neutralize it. You're not passing it on. You're not taking it in. Remember, if you take it in, shutting up about it and kind of being passive aggressive and going, oh no, I'll be the bigger person, I'll take it in, is still adding to the collective pot. What goes on inside you is the collective pot. That's very different to, I'll neutralize it. I understand this anger has come my way through some way, and by activating the things I've taught you in the other weeks, that will help you. By not taking it personally will help you. By seeing this person as they're just the deliverer of anger that's been triggered in them by something, I'm not going to pass this anger on. I'm not going to throw it back. I'm not going to pass it to the next person, and I'm also not going to internalize it. I'll neutralize it. You can do that. Or you can take it a step up to kind of like, without wanting to bring judgment on it, but kind of like a more advanced level. You can transform that anger, which really, all anger, remember last week, what's beneath that is fear. You can transform that anger/fear into love. And that is really what you can do, and that is what people mean by saying, you can save the whole world. you start to recognize that this swirling pot of energy has to go somewhere, and where it goes is into our minds, into our bodies. It just flows through us. Remember, there is a pot of energy that swirls around, through and between all of us all the time. And people are going through their day, going about their lives, and the aspects of them that they have not yet healed are matching points to whatever the collective pot has swirling around. Anger, fear, frustration, jealousy, happiness, joy, love. We're matching to that as well. But whatever has not yet healed in us, as it's floating around that collective pot, finds a place in us to land and then kind of plays out through us and gets passed around. Let's take responsibility for what we do with that. It's different, and it's a whole nother video series of also allowing the other person to take responsibility. That's just not the scope of this. The scope of this right now is taking responsibility for what we do with what comes our way. What am I going to do with energetically what's in that collective pot swirling around that also has an opportunity to pass through me? Am I going to give it somewhere to land? Am I going to invite it in? Am I going to invite fear in, feed it, nourish it, nurture it, and let it live through me and kind of continue to get higher and higher and higher in that collective pot? Or will I neutralize it? Or will I turn it into love? So a lot of the things we've been talking about turn it into love. Compassion, kindness, understanding, knowing that, that person's fearful, that's why they're bringing that to me. They're bringing that my way. They're passing that past the parcel of fear, and I can have it stop with me. I don't have to pass it to the next person. I can have it stop with me. I can unwrap it, and I can say, what is here for me? Am I going to give this somewhere to live? Am I going to add to it? Am I going to send it out so that it can continue to swirl around? Or am I going to transform it into love? And you only have to do that for you. It is not even your job to do that for the other person. It is not your job. Remember, you can't save someone else. You save yourself and you live as an example. So imagine how much of an example you are when somebody brings anger your way and you go, no, I'm not playing. I'm not adding. I will take what part of that you've brought to me, and I will now decide what is my job here to do with the part that I now have in my hands. I'm not going to fix the part that's in you. I can't do that. I fix the part that's in me. I take care of the part of the collective that has come to my door. You can picture it like a house. You can open the door, and as you've opened the door, a bit of, anger or a bit of fear has flown in, and you close the door, and it is now your decision what you make with it, but it's not your decision what all the whole neighbourhood does with it. It's not your decision. It's not your job to make sure that nobody feels fear ever again. Start to see fear as the teaching tool it is, and when it comes to your door, ask yourself, what is here for me? What am I learning from this? What has it activated in me? What is my opportunity here? And in doing that, you heal the part of you that was a match to that coming to your door. So you no longer kind of have that receiver sight, because you've healed that aspect. And even just being conscious, I say even just, conscious is like one of the most important things in this experience that we call life. Being conscious allows you to make different choices. Once I'm conscious that I have all these receptors inside of me to anger, so that when anger comes to my door, I don't resent it. I don't judge myself for being angry. I say, oh, look, here's anger. Here's anger. Welcome. What are you going to teach me today? What are you bringing up to be healed, to be made whole in me, so that I don't just send it back out with my bit added on top And in that way, you know, we're kind of just playing this swirling and adding and constantly getting, you know, we see someone angry, then we get angry, we add more anger, another group comes along, adds more anger, and the fear just keeps rising. And it's understandable that fear and watching fear and hearing fearful things brings fear, but at the same time, I know that deep down, everybody wants to do something constructive about it. Everybody wants a different experience. Your job here is to not be a landing ground for it, but to not ignore it. That's very different to ignoring it. This isn't about closing your door and closing your blinds and I don't want to hear about people being hurt, and I don't want to hear about the animals being hurt. And that is not, that is just denial. That is not transforming. Transforming is, where am I a match to this? Where do I add to this? Let me take care of my part in this. Let me transform what part of this I can before I send it out again, before I send it along again. That is our job here, to have a fertile mind for love, and to have a healthy, kind of loving, kind, vibrant environment within our body, where things like fear and anger, as they come along, they have less and less of a place to live. So you can consciously always be somewhere that transforms them. You're not transforming them for the person that's brought it. That's not your lessons to learn. Just remember, I'm transforming this for me so that there's no place for it to land, and for the collective pot. All right, next week, questions, whatever questions you've had along the way, send them to me this week, and we'll just do a check-in, how everybody's going, and do like a answering questions from all of the weeks. All right, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this week's video, and I will speak with you soon.